certified empowerment coach. Always like to say you're blessed and highly favored, a magnet for miracles and your solution for someone's problem. These are two wonderful ladies that we have on the conversation piece tonight. One is brand new. I've never met before, but I know she's got good stuff because she's a comedian on the side. I didn't realize it till like 2 minutes ago, but she's good. But we've got Tashi and we have Alice Fuller on, and I'm gonna let them each. When I let Tashi introduce herself, she's on once a month and talks about media and pop culture, and then she can give the introduction to Alice, and then basically I'm just steering the ship tonight. They brought a great conversation piece.
Hello, everyone. So, as per usual, I'm Tachi, and for those of you that don't know me, I'm a media professor. I'm also a filmmaker, a journalist, a media maker in general. Anything that's media, I do. I'm also a voiceover artist, and I do a show because Dr. Vibe is going to get on me for not saying this because I always forget. I do a show on Periscope, Facebook Live, and Busker called Mediascope, where I talk about the week in media, tech, and pop culture every week at 6 p.m. Busker and Periscope, and then 7:30 Facebook Live. And I had the distinct pleasure of meeting this young lady last week because she came on my stream for the first time in Periscope, and we just happened to connect on so many levels. So Alice Fuller is fantastic, and I can't do her justice, so I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hello. As you see, I am not Beyonce. We both light skinned. That's about it. That's it. That's all we got. And we're both from the South. That's about it. That's it. But I am principal consultant at Sheer Social. Sheer Social is my social media marketing, consulting, and training business. I've been doing that now for probably 7, 8 years. Yeah, it's been a minute. We weren't even really called. It was all about blogging when I first started. We didn't even have. It was like, ooh, MySpace.
Exactly.
So, so I've been working with medium and small businesses, but I also, interestingly enough, my background is like Tachi's. Basically, I'm a filmmaker, television producer. I worked on, anything that y'all would know. Let's see, House Hunters International. I was associate producer for that for a while. A couple of shows on BET. Our segment producer, kind of, sort of. And then, what other show you might know? Nanny 911 on Fox. Anybody remember that? Production coordinator on that. And I worked a couple of award shows, Oscars, the Emmys, that kind of thing. So I had a good Hollywood run, and I still have a foot in entertainment. But primarily now I do mostly just social media. And I kind of tie the social media with the film and television when I can.
Excellent. Well, thank you for, first of all, making the time to share with us, and much respect for your evaluated experience and all the work that you have done and will be doing, because you bring a lot of great perspective and experience to the table. So I'm very happy, and our audience is very happy to have you here tonight. So you and Tashi were having a discussion, and I want you to sort of give us some background on the discussion you were having, which then led to our conversation tonight. So whoever wants to start about this conversation, go ahead.
So it's so funny. Like she said, we connect on so many different levels, and we started this conversation talking about actually Alice was talking about situations in where millennials will be working for a company and they just tweet out the wrong thing, or they're not cognizant of how and what they're saying, whether it's for professional or business. And so we just got us into this conversation about millennials and social media use. And not just that, but the fact that they're not being trained on the university level and by the companies that they're doing. They're just like, just go tweet this out. But nobody's telling them how and what they want done and how it should be done accurately. So it's almost like, well, who is to blame here because we're not giving them direction? So we had a whole conversation basically about that.
Yeah, it was very true. And I do have screen grabs of one particular instance that I will not share, but it was a very prominent magazine, publishing company was probably more accurate, and they allowed the as I call the young to take over the Periscope, and I just think what was put on Periscope was so inappropriate, and I think someone who was older probably would have had the experience and the forethought and probably just would have paused. Like, yeah, this is fun. This is great. This is fun. But experience has taught me this is not something that you put out over the internet. If you want to do it for yourself and make some money, you can do that on Buska if you want to. But but when you are working for a company and you start thinking about that company's brand and you start thinking about that company's audience and you realize this is not about you, boo. This is not. But that's what we were talking about is in many instances, when you've lived a little longer, you've worked at a couple of different places and you've lived long enough to get an idea about, that may not work. That may not work either. So let me just pause for a second. And in many instances, let's first say we're not hating on millennials, because I don't want a millennial to come up in here and be like, "Damn, we don't do everything wrong." Here they come with some older people who always trying to be mad at us. That's not it. That is not it. Because we were never millennials, but we were young people once too. We didn't come out the womb the ages we are. Yes.
We're still young people, please.
But we've worked long enough. We've had that experience that says, you know what, that probably is not the wisest way to go. And sometimes I think millennials get caught up in, because everything is so digital, everything is so social, and everything is about the selfie and, keeping it real and keeping it authentic. It's just like, well, not really. There's a pseudo authenticity that we sometimes have. And certain things just do not need to be put into a public space, especially when you're working for a company. When you're tweeting for yourself, you can do what you want. But when they hire you to handle the company's Twitter, Facebook, or whatever it is, you can't go in it thinking, I can do whatever I want. Even though they've given you the power or the range, you can't. You got to put things on, have a filter. # no filter.
So Tashi, let me come to you, Tashi.
Yeah.
And this is something I'm sure is right up your wheelhouse. So why don't you add to the conversation that Alice has laid down already?
Absolutely. So the interesting thing is that as we speak, well, I'm wrapping it up, but I actually teach a social media class. So I teach a class on social media and business and using social media for business, basically. And it's a communication class, but it's also a business course. And so one of the things that I'm doing is, presenting, not only am I having them create social media, so I'm kind of working on redesigning the course, because when I got the course, it was already set and it's kind of antiquated, as are the books and the reading. So I've been trying to infuse some things in there, some fresh things, and there's so many new platforms. So I started them building blogs, because that's the way that somebody who's not comfortable live streaming, at least they can write their thoughts out. Somebody who doesn't want to do some sort of podcasting, they can write their thoughts out. So that's a small way to start. Twitter, micro blogging, and then something bigger. So that's how we started. One thing that I'm noticing is that the students are very aware of, we lost it, but we're going to keep going because I'm a host, so I'm good. So the students are very aware of what is wrong or what can go wrong in terms of this. Because one thing I had them do was to get case studies to find cases where social media use had gone horribly wrong, and the company then had to manage their image via social media using that same platform, obviously. And Twitter comes up more often than not, in terms of that. So there was one case in particular where, and you probably know about this, Alice, the KitchenAid debacle. So in 2008, KitchenAid. Yeah, KitchenAid, and I believe the person was a millennial. The person was young, but they had somebody doing their tweeting for them. And instead of, the thing is, because I can see how this can happen. It's a mistake, but you can't make those types of mistakes in business. She forgot to switch back to her personal account to make a tweet. And the tweet basically said, and this was 2008 when Obama was being, elected. And the tweet basically said something like, Obama, that's a mistake. His grandmother, you could tell because his grandmother died 3 days after he was elected, something to that effect, which was horrible because it came from the KitchenAid account instead of his or her account. So, of course, they took it down, and then they had to get on there and manage. And they said, they apologized for that. And they said, the person that said it will no longer be tweeting for us. So there are things like that you feel that you need to be so connected and on social media all the time. And guess what? You don't have to say everything. Even if that's what you feel, how is that going to add to anybody's lives by knowing that? You don't have to say everything. And now because you felt you had to say everything, you messed up. And that's one thing that we don't teach. That's one thing I try to do that. But guess what? The overwhelming majority of professors don't know a damn thing about social media, don't really use it themselves, except for maybe one or two platforms, and don't really have any understanding. So how are you going to teach somebody else how to use social media when you yourself have no understanding of it? And that's where we fail. We don't know, and we expect them to.
And to add to that, which is kind of interesting, because universities, they use social media as a recruitment tool. But yet when it comes to using social media or hiring social media professors or integrating social media into a class and into your instruction, then it becomes, well, no, we don't want to use social media in here, but you don't mind using social media to get the students here. But now that you got them here, you don't want to continue using social media in the class, incorporating it into the classroom. That's the sadder part.
It is sad, and I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize. But the thing is, everything is so separate. So you have the recruitment and admissions that are doing all of that, and they have people that they hire that sometimes are millennials that are doing all of that. But then you have something completely separate when you get to the academic side. So you're not upholding what it is you purport yourself to be. So you're doing this. You damn well can't teach it because you don't have any professors that can know this. And then, so the thing is, what they do is they try to get this twofer, and they want you to, can't you just teach that? Well, no, this professor doesn't know that. You can't just, so they try to do that all the time. They get over by having people who really don't know teach. And I have seen it firsthand, and I'm like, this damn professor does not know this XYZ, but they're just trying to get them to teach it because they don't want to hire anybody else to do it for real. They're cheap and they try to get over, but I see them spend money in other places. So, that's the real thing, that they need to start valuing things like media, need to start valuing the salience of social media and putting money into it. And whether that means training for the existing faculty or hiring somebody who actually bloody knows,
they damn well going to do it. Too, we're in some millennials now.
Okay, she froze us.
That's the student.
We froze.
The student did something wrong, of course. So that's what got him tossed off campus. But the student. Oh, wait a minute! I lost everybody. Oh, I got a port. I can't. Okay. So I have poor internet.
We can hear you.
You know what?
Should I refresh or just continue?
Okay, so what? Yes, please.
Refresh.
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 Yeah.
Okay, while we do that, we just want to welcome some people onto the conversation. Tyree Bursik is at Cosmic World of One. Alicia Word, if you could jump in, it would be great. Have not seen you in a long time, and your name came up in a blab last night also. Also, just before, Words Louder Than Herself, thank you so much. There is a seat open, so, and I know that there are probably some millennials in the audience, so certainly if you want to jump in, but Ms. Word, if you can come on, that'd be great. Welcome back, Alice.
So to continue my story, the Howard University a student got thrown off campus for something that he did wrong, and he was smart enough, savvy enough to reach out to the local press first. This happened kind of like on a weekend. And by the time the local press got to him, put the story on the regular news, with probably the general news cycle, then social media comes in. And then next thing you know, you've built all this sympathy is built for this student. Now, of course, what he did wrong didn't come out till later because the university was too slow in responding to the news. So students now, especially with so many protests going on, you've got many students who are quite savvy in many instances when they want to get something, or when they want to protest something, or they want to get some sort of campaign. But unfortunately, either the students or the faculty, they see themselves trying to catch up. And the students, it's just like FloJo, they're gone. You're not going to catch up. The hair is already in the wind. You're not going to catch up with them. And especially when you have the same access to the tools that they have. They got access to YouTube. You got access to YouTube. They have access to traditional media. You have access to traditional media. So in those cases, when you have the media departments and the marketing departments, I hate to say it, for many institutions, many colleges, they're still in that antiquated mindset. And so, we gotta wait. Well, we gotta wait to get it approved. Well, how many approvals does it need before you can actually get it on Facebook? The student his story is already out there. You got people, trying to get him a house and trying to, you probably got a GoFundMe campaign already going, and there's nothing. There's crickets. 3 days, crickets. Now that doesn't make a lot of sense in this day and age when you have the same access to the same tools that he had. And the reality of it is he went traditional. He went, okay, I got a story to tell. I'm going to call the local press. What university doesn't have at least one reporter on speed dial when stuff happens? I mean, when the thing about being a little older as opposed to someone who's very, very young, we know that, the traditional still works, and you integrate the social so that you're not thinking, young people just think social. But we've learned the old school still works. And in many instances, it may work better than social, depending on how you use it.
Wise words there. I just want to catch up and again say hello to Ms. Word. I am Ms. Word. Want to say hello also to at Don John 90. Also at Elena _B_rights. And also to Evan Taxi. And also to way over from England, Team Event 2015. We've got people in from all over the place tonight. So this is good. Looking forward to more conversation. And finally, this gentleman's coming in after making so many comments. Blake, it's good to have you coming on in. Although you're only in internet only, but we'll still take you.
It's great to participate in a blab where everybody is just so focused on positivity, focused on things that are going to be able to communicate to other people that will make life better. And I was spoiled. Like I went into your blab really early on, and then I went into other blabs, and it was a rude awakening. it was kind of not the same experience. So I didn't want to take over or try to do render any like specific opinion. I just wanted to be a part of the conversation as it is already going, because I think that millennials and social media, I mean, we are at a crossroads as far as not just like history, but as far as intellect and technology and energy. And what's going to happen? Like I got pretty freaked out about this a long time ago and read a lot of Kurt Vonnegut, and it helped a little bit, but it didn't solve anything. You know what I mean? Like it didn't make it better. It just made you have more angles to come at. So, anyway, I'm just glad to be a part of the conversation.
Well, you're welcome anytime. What are you say you have concerns? What are your concerns when it comes to this subject?
Oh gosh, I mean, I would hope that my concerns are similar to most people, that just people that are good and hardworking and honest won't be able to find enough jobs, because I get what Kurt Vonnegut wrote a lot about as far as the millennial generation was, he wrote about there's going to be the Industrial Revolution, which we're pretty familiar with, which, a lot of the people's physical labor was replaced by Henry Ford and a whole bunch of different things that, helped, but also there were certain people that were like, damn, like this is going to be tough for me to figure out how to proceed in this market where my skill set has been almost totally replaced. So Kurt Vonnegut talks specifically about not just the Industrial Revolution, but the intellectual revolution, where a lot of people that thought that they were immune from that will also be replaced. And then how and what do we do to keep these economies going? And I think that the millennials have a big part in that, and they're the people that are older than them have a big part in that too. But how is that going to play out? I just don't know yet. It's a fascinating, very, very fascinating topic.
Thank the two ladies. They brought it. I'm just providing the platform. They're the driving the ship. But let me ask you another conversation piece, Blake, and also want the ladies to chime in. What are the not so good ways social media is affecting millennials in your opinion? So I'll let Blake start that first.
Oh my goodness. There are very many obvious ways in which individualism will positively affect people, but there are some ways that narcissism and things that you maybe wouldn't want your friends or your children or people that you associate directly with to engender and to bring forth on social media. And I think that is probably one of the biggest dangers. It's people saying that the individual is important, which it is. You don't want to quash the rights of the individual, but at the same time, when you think that I'm the best there is, and that you don't want to go that in that far of a direction either. So I think that narcissism has a big role to play in how we communicate to the future, as far as how to really be virtuous as opposed to virtue signaling, as opposed to just trying to post something on your internet likeness, whether it be Facebook or MySpace or whatever. Just like well, I'm going to do this, and so it's going to be great. You don't want to just do that. You want to try to actually embrace humility and do those things, and then try to bring people into doing the same thing that you're doing, without just trying to be like, I hope I get famous or, notorious for doing good things. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost. And I don't think it's their fault. I don't think that people should be, chastised for doing this, because they're at least partially trying to do something good, but trying to get something out of it is just, it's a very slippery slope. And I think it's a very dangerous area that a lot of people get sucked into. And I'm sorry, I came in here saying that I wouldn't talk too much, and then I started, just regurgitating all this stuff. So.
No, but you know what? No problem. I'm going to let you go because I know there's some other people that want to come in. But first of all, thank you for your comments on the side. Thank you for your comments live. Appreciate it. And there is always, you said MySpace. Well, we always have space for you on the Dr. Vibe conversation. So thank you. Ladies, add on, what are some ways you feel that social media is not being helpful for millennials. And there is a seat open. So if anyone would like to come on in, again, Ms. Word, Leon, others, Evan, come on in. So go ahead. Who wants to take it
I'll
next?
let you go. You go, Tachi. You go.
Oh, okay. I was going to defer to you, but okay,
kind.
That's fine. So here's the thing. I think that the problem is not, the problem doesn't just start with millennials. The problem starts with a culture that refuses to listen to people because of age. And so if you, or age or race or gender or whatever, sexual orientation, so if you are never listened to, the moment you have a platform where somebody actually cares what you're saying, you're going to let it go. You are going to spill it. I mean, and case in point, I do this exercise because, yeah, I'm a media person, but I also teach general communication courses as well. And I teach a hybrid fundamentals of communication course sometimes, which is a hybrid presentation making and interpersonal. And I do this exercise called the box. And the box, there are 4 panes to the self. There are 4 windows of the self called the Johari window. And you've got your open self, the hidden self, the closed self, and the unknown. And so I tell them to take a container of any type, and you're going to, on the outside, put your open self out there, the things everybody knows about you that you know about yourself. And on the inside, you could put the hidden self, the things that people know about you, but you don't know. So they tell you, oh, do you know that you smack your teeth when you talk? Those types of things. I said, and you can put things that are secrets if you feel comfortable. Can I tell you, every single time they will put deep, dark things and spill it to the class. I mean, I kept saying every year, I said, I'm not doing this exercise anymore because I had to bring tissue because the whole class would end up crying. And I'm talking about big, burly guys who you think were hard. They would be out, falling out crying because nobody listens to them. They're always telling them, oh, well, sit down, be quiet. We don't need to hear your voice. So the moment you get the national stage, you get out there and you start to spill things that you probably otherwise would not spill if you had an audience. Also, there's, the millennial generation has been taught it's been all about you. They didn't do that to themselves. Their parents said, you is kind, you is good, you is important. You're the most important person in the world. Mr. Rogers, I love you. You're good enough. And just gosh darn people like you. Their parents did that to them. They didn't do that to themselves. And so they come out with this, how dare you not recognize who I am attitude. And it stems from that. So we're looking at not just the millennial and what they put out there, but the climate that enables millennials to do that, meaning never being listened to, meaning also being fed this narcissism of you're the most important person and you could do whatever you want. So that's where that comes from. I'm not absolving them of their responsibility because you're grown. You need to have a little bit of common sense, but we also need to look at where
before we
to
go any
act
further, just give me a sec. I like to acknowledge people when I can. Candy Javier has come back. Also like to shout out to Kathy Crowley 8. Thank you so much. The topic, Candy, is social media helping or hurting millennials? And also Moto JT, thank you for stopping by. If anyone would like to come on into the conversation live, just tell me on the sidebar, and also welcome Jonathan Cooper, but I'll let Alice share and then I'll get to Jonathan. Go ahead, Alice.
It's interesting. Yesterday on Facebook, there was this video running about a straight A student. I forgot where he's from, but he couldn't graduate because of his facial hair. Whatever school it was. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when I watched the clip and I'm listening to this young man speak, and when the reporter asked him, well, how do you feel? How does this whole situation make you feel? And he said it hurted. Did you say hurt? Did you say hurted? Then he followed that up with, well, I seen how other people were graduating. I said, wait a minute. I'm going to be the bougie one in the group to point this out. Nobody wants to point this big old elephant out in the room. This is a straight A student. Now,
wow.
Now, hey, maybe I'm being too bougie, but hey, it happens. He is a straight A student. Now, he's boasting about his grades. So my expectations have already been raised. What social media has, you know what, in one instance, I don't really want to blame the tools. It's almost like you want to blame the nail for being hit. It's just like, well, you can't blame the hammer, or you can't blame the nail for hitting the hammer. It's just like, they're just tools. But at the end of the day, it's just like these students right now, somewhere along the line, we've gotten so accustomed to speaking or not even learning how to write. And I think that's a real big issue, because you can send a tweet in 140 characters. You can write however long you want on Facebook, but people have a tendency to rant. And, young people have a tendency not to put punctuations. I'm like, comma, chameleon, something. Can we get a comma, a period somewhere in here? So in many instances, and they think it's okay because it's social media, and it's just like, no, it's not okay that you seem to think that I can just write this way and rant and not put any punctuation in it, or the fact that I can use, especially if you're writing for something as important as for a job, or you're talking to a TV camera, and with all of your straight A's that you just flash into the camera, and somebody asks you, how are you feeling? And you say it hurted.
Ouch.
That is a problem. That goes beyond just social media, because then that says to me, there's a teacher that dropped the ball there. There's a system that dropped the ball there. Because this young man has obviously grown up within the digital world. He can obviously, talk. But what I don't understand is how a straight A student, a real straight A student has to study. They have to read. They have to write. He was a straight A student for all 4 years of high school. And when asked how you feel, you say it hurted. I can't. I can't. That's the thing that kind of worries me about social media, wherein if you can't communicate, and I'm not saying you have to speak the King's language and things of that nature, but when you can't, especially as African-American students, when you can't be bilingual, and I'm not talking Spanish, French, that's not what I'm talking. What I'm talking is how you may speak to your friends online is one thing. But when you get in front of a TV camera, how you talk to your friends on Facebook is not how you speak to a TV camera when your story is about to go national. That
Jonathan,
I think is a big
we don't teach
issue.
them that, though.
Jonathan, I thank you for your patience. I know you've been enjoying the conversation. Haven't seen you for a while. What, you've been hanging out with the Sharks? Jonathan,
no, I've been taking care of myself. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh, wait. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
I think there's a delay.
Yeah. There's a delay.
Something is glitchy. Either. Okay. I'm going to kick out Jonathan. It froze. I'm going to make Tachi the host. No, I'm going to make her. Okay, hold on.
I'm a host already. Oh.
Yeah, Blab has been acting. Well, that's a whole other AOL time again. Stop it. That's hilarious. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to make.
You know what? Be quiet. I still use my AOL address.
Okay,
sleep.
I'm gonna
Yeah, I still got mine
Jonathan come
too.
back on here. Let's see. I think Tachi's internet connection wasn't strong.
Can you hear me?
Mine?
It's still a delay?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It's a delay from. Is it delayed for anybody in a sec?
No, you're good.
Okay. Not for me.
I'm gonna. Okay. You know how I feel about people who have conversations without including the people that you're talking about in the conversation. Even though I look older, I'm a millennial, but I'm a latter millennial. So I'm on the other spectrum. I'm on the, because just like with the baby boom, there's generations. I'm in the millennial generation. So I'm 2 years from the latter, which is 1980. So the millennials go from 2000 to 1980. I'm sorry? Exactly. Yes, exactly.
When music was still good.
You have today. They be like, "Have you heard this?" I mean, I don't listen to nobody past any new artist past 2002. I'm just like, if it's, I just can't anymore. I can't. But for millennials, I think it's funny because, like Dr. Vibe said, I haven't been on Blab in a while. But when I saw this notification come up that you had this recorded, I said, oh, I'm going to be on this one because I definitely have something to say about this. The good thing that that social media has done for millennials is two things. If you haven't touched this already, and I'm sorry for being late, activism and entrepreneurship.
Nope.
When it comes,
let's talk about that. That's very good.
Well, especially with, of course, Black Lives Matter. I believe, Tachi, you're in the Baltimore area. I'm in the Philadelphia area. And because of things like, well, we know that Twitter did not become popular until the issue that happened, I believe, in the Middle East that made it so. And same thing with Periscope with Ferguson. What happened to Ferguson? If it wasn't for those social media tools, we would have relied on the media. And, corporate media is totally biased against Black people. It's totally against people that are for progression. So we wouldn't have saw that at all without Periscope. Without Twitter, we wouldn't have got the live feed or action. And now even with Blab and now Facebook Live, we now see things that are going on. And it allows us to communicate. Actually, I'll take Twitter back one step. It was because of Twitter, Trayvon Martin became a national issue. Before, no one knew what was going on because it was an issue in Florida, but because of Twitter and people tweeting out hashtagging Trayvon Martin, and then that's where we got Black Lives Matter. That started as a hashtag. Now we see it as a big movement all over the United States, and I think all over the world. I would say even in Canada, you see Black Lives Matter. So social media has done that. And for entrepreneurship, you no longer have to go the traditional route of getting a PR agent or having to go hire an advertiser. You can start on social media. As Dr. Vibe said earlier, he's like, have I been hanging out with the Sharks? Because I watch Shark Tank all the time. Actually, one of my first blabs I used to do was Shark Tank. And I would say at least one out of every contestant on Shark Tank, when they're asked, how did you start out? How did you market? They always say social media. They say, I started out with social media and it caught on fire. Yep. And for entrepreneurs who we're not and Tachi and I think Alice alluded to this earlier, we're not the generation of go to school, get a job, retire. We saw our parents do that and it didn't work for them. So now we're like, okay, I don't want to be stuck in a 9-to-5 for the rest of my life, doing something that I hate, doing something I don't like to do. I want to do what I want to do. I'm going to be passionate about it, whether it's entrepreneurship, activism, nonprofit, whatever. Social media has given us the tools to go ahead and leverage that so we can engage with each other as well as engage around the world. Because unfortunately, Tachi knows I went to an HBCU. The HBCU I went to was very traditional. They didn't teach online marketing. They didn't teach you that you're competing around the world. They taught you that you're competing for the person next door. But no, society has changed. And the negative thing about it, and Alice, you said this a little bit earlier, is the social interaction. I don't know how many times I have ran into people that I knew by, and I hear this all the time, you know who they are by their Facebook, you know who they are by their Instagram, but you don't even know how to say hello, how you doing? Sometimes you don't even know their name. You know them, oh, what's up, digital biz dude? I'm like, my name is Jonathan. Like it's on everything. Like I don't hide my name. Like if you go on Instagram, it says, dude, my name is Jonathan Cooper. It says it all there, and people just don't know how to interact. And I don't know if it's a millennial thing or just a social media thing, but we don't know how to engage or interact. And people think that when you network, they think they're network. You just do LinkedIn. No, you got to go out and you got to meet people. You got to learn how to talk to people. You got to learn how to. And so one person used the term perfectly: code switch. We don't know. Black people don't know how to code switch. Like we are, like you said, it hurted me. And when I heard, I was like, oh my God, it hurted me. Just like ain't nobody got time for that. Or I am delivered. I'm not gay no more. It's no, you are not. It's like, no, that's not correct English. I don't like women's. No, you don't like women. It was like you hear people. I am delivered. No, it's delivered. But I don't know if that's. He said, "I'm not getting." It's like, and it's so funny because that saying, "I'm not getting no more." He took it and ran with it. He took it and made it into his thing, and people embrace it. I'm like, y'all, that is not correct English. It's not. I'm not gay. And I don't know if I'm saying it right either. I'm not gay anymore, or I'm not gay. Period. Like he just really, but our generation, because of and also even typing on Facebook. I don't know how many times I've typed a status, and I've reviewed it several times. Reviewed it seven times. Sometimes I even print it out, and guess what? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, I spelled that wrong. Oh my God, see, grammar was never my thing. But there are people who are worse than me, and people think that it's okay. And our minds are trained. If I'm not mistaken, there's a thing I used to have on Instagram where the first letter and the last word was correct in the sentence, in the paragraph. The first letter and the last letter of each word was correct. The letters between it were incorrect. But you can read it straight through and know what the whole paragraph is saying, because our minds are created to correct what was incorrect. But I'm gonna stop talking and just let y'all talk. But remember, I'm a millennial, so if you got any questions about millennials, I can pretty much almost answer them. Some of them, like you said, when it comes to like music, when I went back to college, I was 29 years old when I went back to school and graduated 3 years later. So I had kids in my class that were 10 years younger than me. We're all millennials, but even I couldn't understand them. I couldn't understand why you listen to Nicki Minaj and I'm in the Little Kim. Like I like to know what the person is saying, and they just go. I like Let Us See. I like to see people stand on the stage and sing. They like Beyonce and Ray. I don't know what Rihanna does or who she is, but I'm like, I don't understand the words she's saying. She's not singing. There's no music. And so many times she goes to a concert and she hands somebody a mic and they sing the song better than her. I'm like, that's not real music. They don't know. They don't like. I was listening to a song. I forgot what song was it. No, I was watching Empire, and there was a part where and I love the show, but Jesse, the lamb is in his throat. I can't stand it. But anyway, they were playing music, and they had like 5 violins playing. I said, okay, guys. And I said, okay, Beehive. Those are called violins. That's where music comes from, not from a studio, but from actual instruments. Okay, there's a violin. That's the bass. That's the cello. So they don't know this. They don't know, like Dr. Cornel West. They just go into a studio, hit a button, auto-tune, but that's just music. But anyway, like I said, I'm going to stop talking. Yes, Tasha.
Well, Can I? I'm sorry. No, I just wanted to address something that you said. In terms of music and whatever. I think part of the thing is that social media also has made us lazy in terms of research. Oh well, first just introduce. I'm not in DC area anymore. I used to teach at Morgan. Now I'm in Florida. So, but I just wanted to so people don't think I'm still Baltimore trying to get at me. But so it's made us lazy in terms of research and lazy in terms of trying to get the case in point. So when I teach, I was teaching a research class last year, and I was teaching the students how to do social scientific research. I said, you know what, this is a media class. You could pick any aspect of media you like. A lot of them picked music. And of course, surprise, surprise, a lot of them wanted to do the influence of XYZ in hip hop. So I can't tell you how many times they said, well, yeah, we want to take it back and we want to make sure that we cover like the real, when we talk about women in hip hop, we want to take it back. So we like Nicki Minaj. I said, wait, let me go and school you. You know, I do research on hip hop, right? Do you know that hip hop originated in the Bronx, and we're talking about it really coming from Jamaican culture, from Jamaican toasting, from the West Indian part of it, that there are 5 aspects to hip hop culture. Do you know this? So they don't. That's the thing. And because everything is out there for them to see on social media, you would think that this would make them curious and want to research more, but it doesn't. It makes them lazy. So that's, to your point about music, this is why they don't know a lot, because if I could get it in 140 bytes, I don't need to go and research it. And it was clear when I read these papers, you all didn't research a damn thing. So that's also to the point, Dr. Vibe.
All right. Well, just interrupt for just a second. I'm going to try to catch up on some of the comments here, because things are going fast and furious in the room, as it seems to be always these days. Where do I start? Durham Skywriter. Our parents' jobs didn't work out for them. My mom and dad loved their jobs. Tashiata said, Durham Skywriter, well, some had jobs as opposed to careers. Team Event 2015. But do we need people who do 9 to 5 anymore? Also want to shout out to Plus One. Thanks for stopping by. There's a lot of comedy comments because of some of the great content that's been going on here tonight. Candy Crowley 8 says, why is this targeting just this generation? Well, that's what the two ladies wanted to talk about. So that's why we're targeting this generation. As you can see, it's doing a good conversation piece. At John 90 is saying, as a millennial, we do not have the best representation. Interesting. At Bruno Real Deal is saying, that's why I think social media is confusing, because you can say one thing, but what other people see and interpret is a whole different thing. Let's see. I think we're pretty much caught up. So go ahead, Alice.
Well, one reason why we're talking about millennials, whatever the newest statistic is about population, millennials will be the majority population in just a couple of years. There'll be more younger people than older people, something like that, which is why so many companies are rushing. Why you think so many people are rushing to Snapchat? Because that's what millennials are. Why would you look over a veteran actor to do a Crest commercial, but you pick 2 YouTubers to do a Crest commercial? Because the reality of it is, and that's real. That's real. So we're not picking let's be clear, we're not picking on millennials or trying to pick a fight with millennials, because hey, I'm grown. So if the Beehive and the Nicki Minaj and all their fans,
they're coming for
just
you.
know.
Oh yeah, they will.
Say something about Beyonce.
I'm so scared.
They're gonna come for you.
I welcome them when they come for me. I welcome them. I'm like, come on, bring it.
Yeah, I
bring it.
It's just, see, what's interesting about that too is a couple of years back when speaking of Little Kim, I can remember there was a picture about Little Kim and the actress Sherry Shepherd was like, what happened?
Yes.
And then Little Kim's followers literally tried to online attack Sherry Shepherd, telling the woman they I hope she is raped and all of this other crap.
That's what I didn't know that, because I'm a fan of Lil' Kim, and my friends are fans of Lil' Kim. I know what you're talking about, and a lot of people were actually making fun of Lil' Kim. Well, some were making fun of her because they found, well, not really making fun of her. Well, yeah, some of them did make fun of her, like compare her to Jigsaw from Saw, because that's what her face looked like. Yeah, they did. Like they went in on her, and a lot of people were upset, and I was upset with her too, because of what she represented in the past and what she represents now. She was about Black empowerment. I love who I am. I love my am. She was that Black woman who was affirmed as a woman of melanin, and she spoke very openly about her sexuality, which was very uncommon. But now she done went to a whole different spectrum. She's pretty much still the same person. It's just that now that she looks more like a Asian, more like Tahitian little.
She looked like a millennial.
I'm sorry, I tried not to laugh.
She turned back. She turned back the clock.
But Jonathan,
turned back the clock.
Just sorry, not to interrupt. Lil' Kim has always had self-esteem issues. She didn't really like being brown. She's short. She was like 4'11". She's 4'11". Mm-hmm. She doesn't like being brown. That there's an awful lot of pressure on her. That's where that came from. So she never really was one that stood for. I don't equate her with black empowerment at all. In fact, she's the antithesis.
Well, I'm saying when other young black girls saw her, that's what. But you're right. She did say she had issues, like because she's talked about her boyfriends would cheat on her with European women. She couldn't understand that, and yeah, she did, and she must have to have some self-esteem issues to go after Biggie Small. She must have had to have some self-esteem issues.
But if we can't really go down that road because Biggie had his color struck, right? And most people know that. But the reality of this conversation. Yes. Let's get back to because we'll go down that road because somebody's gonna bring it down in a minute, and that's not what we're talking about.
Absolutely not.
Exactly.
But when you start thinking about how it is indeed a beautiful thing that these tools can connect us around the world. And it's funny you're talking about Twitter. I remember when Black Twitter first kind of showed its face, and it was when Michael Jackson died, and it was the BET Awards. And at that particular time, you was like, oh, there are Black people on Twitter. Okay, yeah, we were there. But it wasn't until that BET Awards show, and I think we took over Twitter to the point where even the predominantly white audience that was on Twitter then was saying, where did all these Black people come from? Have y'all always been here? For real? We just never noticed you were here. Well, you notice now we here. And so where that came in, and then when you look at, which is interesting too, because now that Deborah Lee, the CEO of BET, is now on the board of Twitter.
Yes.
And and statistically, we use Twitter more than any other race, and that is especially true for the millennials. So on one end, yes, the tools are great for collectively having a conversation and bringing light to certain things, and I like how too. Like you said, you can't trust only one source of news. Although if you CNN now, you never thought you'd see the day when CNN would say from TMZ. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, you still have more than one source of news. And so the beautiful thing about these tools of communication now that millennials are really running with is the fact that I am a media outlet.
Mm-hmm.
I am a media outlet. If I'm standing right here by the fire, I can I can throw up Periscope long before the assignment desk will assign a reporter and a videographer to go out and cover it and do a live shot. I'm on Periscope. I've already got the footage, and if I know what I'm really doing, you'll pay me for it. But at the end of the day, when we start talking about some of the bad things or some of the negative things where social media and millennials are concerned, is like, well, yes, yes, have a freedom of thought, have a freedom of speech, but sometimes that hate speech really gets, like on YouTube, too much, way too much. On Twitter, when a person really can think, you can just tell a woman, I wish you were raped. Don't you know there's an IP address that you can be traced to? You don't seem to realize that I think Twitter is creating that database for the Library of Congress. Do you not realize the Popo is on Twitter now? And I'm not just talking your local popo. I'm talking about the federal, the state. They're catching criminals because criminals are dumb enough to tweet what they did.
They do that. No, there was a guy who was actually trying to escape. I think he had a warrant out for his arrest, and he posted on Facebook that he was leaving and put where he was going, and the cops followed him right to where he was at because he posted it on Facebook.
Or better yet, there's this one case I was reading about wherein this guy, this family had a great lawsuit against his company, and they won a lot of money out of court. But there was a muzzle clause. You can't say nothing about how much money you won in this case. What did baby girl do? Right on Facebook and started bragging about the money.
We got the money. Yep.
Yo, look, whatever is paying for our trip to our vacation. You'll be vacationing in the backyard because your baby girl has messed you up. You will no longer be getting any money. Now, for me and my daughter would have issues. I ain't even gonna front on it. I'm like, it's gonna take me a minute for me to be in the same room with you. Okay, it's gonna take me a little minute. Just give me a minute. Give me a minute. It's gonna take me a little while to get over. I had plans for that money. And now because of you felt so empowered to brag about what we're getting. Did we not tell you? Don't say nothing. It's in writing.
I think she didn't know at the time because it happened when the parents weren't there when it happened. So I think it was at the time they were signing it. And then a few hours later, when it happened, then she posted it out. I think she didn't know, but it was like, really, you would do that? And yeah, because of that, she knows she ain't going. She knows she ain't going on vacation.
Well, I mean, to those points, it's a lack of discretion.
Yes.
And, a lack of discretion is something that you can blame on social media. These individuals had a lack of discretion to begin with, and now they just have a platform to be lack of discretionary. That's not right, but I'm going to say that anyway. They're not going to they use discretion on social media. If they don't do so in real life, why would they do so here? So I think sometimes we expect magical things from social media, and these are just normal, everyday people, flawed people, that the flaws are now amplified because they're on the world stage for the world to see. It's the same thing where we talk about, it seems like there's more crime going on, there's more of this. No, it was the same amount before. It's just that there are more tools now for us to see what's happening. So it's amplified. So what I want us to avoid, like you were saying, Alice, is to avoid blaming these platforms for the ills and the pitfalls of society, because guess what? How about when you're talking about these students who, this young man who hurted, he's graduating out of somebody's high school that allowed him to speak that way for umpteenth amount of years. He came from somebody's house where that was allowed to happen. So we cannot now blame, social media for the lack of whatever. Now that has exacerbated it. But these people had terrible grammar to begin with anyway, and they come out of public school systems that are sadly underfunded. They want the teachers to have rabbits out of hats and tap dance for chicken wings and still make sure that these people speak the King's English. Take the crosstown bus to hell. That's not happening. That is not happening.
I like what Dr. Cornel West says. He says, rich kids get taught, poor kids get taught, poor kids get tested. Because here in Philly, it's all about testing the kids. That's all it is, just testing the kids. And the real reason why that happened was because of No Child Left Behind Act. It just puts kids through because one of my friends I went to college with, because when Bush took office, I had just graduated from high school. So No Child Left Behind was maybe a year after I graduated. And when I went to college, I was like, why can't these kids write? Why can't they do math? What's going on? And someone was like, because No Child Left Behind. They just put them through the system. Where I went to school, you didn't get through the system. You had to work. If you couldn't write, if you couldn't do math, you just couldn't get your diploma. Now, and because like I said, I'm a latter millennial, so all the ones after me who are also millennials, we don't know how to communicate correctly when it comes to writing and reading. I'm also a teacher, substitute for now, but I'm going to be a full-time teacher soon. And it amazes me how kids, they just write anything down. They don't check their spelling. They don't check. And I'm sitting there reading. I'm like, okay, I know what you meant, but that's spelled wrong. That's spelled wrong. Is that singular or plural? And it's like, oh, I wasn't thinking. They don't even think. And this is how I'm a conspiracy theorist sometimes. And I think this is a way for them to dumb down a generation. So if the dumber we get, the less skills that we have. So when we go out to get a job, we can't get the high paying jobs that requires a lot of skills, a lot of education. We have to go for the low menial jobs that don't pay that well. And I got the issue of minimum wage. Should it go up? Should it go down? And to me, I think it's just that's where the conspiracy is at. But also, one thing I want to mention, the reason why I was late is because I was watching one of my favorite media shows I watch on YouTube, and they constantly talk about how you see this decline of millennials not watching CNN, MSNBC, even Fox News. Well, Fox News, their demographics are like white men 70 to 80 years old. But more and more millennials are getting their news online. They're going to YouTube. They're not going to CNN. They're not going to MSNBC. This is why, and I'm not trying to get political, that's why more millennials are supporting like a Bernie Sanders versus a Hillary Clinton because of social media, because of where they're getting their media from. And most of the media outlets that are on YouTube are progressive. They're not regressive. They're not conservative. There's some conservatives out there, but they're not as big as the ones that I watch. So that's the only thing I don't like about the media platform on YouTube. And once again, I know I got political and I'm going to get racial. For Black people, that doesn't exist for us. You know what our Black media is? World Star Hip Hop.
That's a sad commentary. Because the reality of it is, World Star Hip Hop is just another YouTube. It's just a targeted demographic. Yes. But at the end of the day, we all have evolved to that point where we get our media not from just CNN anymore, or from the traditional outlets. That's how we all have evolved. Look at Ebony, look at Jet. If they had been evolving along with their audience, as opposed to running and catching up with their audience, Ebony wouldn't have almost turned into a pamphlet. So, at the sorry, but it's very true, because you have to continually evolve with your audience. Essence figured it out. Essence almost online feels more like an entertainment blog to me now.
Well, Essence is owned by Time Warner, so it's not like Ebony, and I hate to bring them up because I love them so much. Black Enterprise, where there seem to be, I don't know what's going on with them. Ebony, as you know, they had to sell, but Essence owns Time Warner, so they're different. They're going to go on the trend of the rest of their magazines.
So let me.
Well, the reality of it is, none of them are really Black owned. Well, some of them are Black owned, but the reality of it is, if no matter what the media outlet is, Black, white, Japanese, matters not. If you are not evolving along with your audience at the same pace, they'll forget you, which is why you can't find an Ebony sometimes. And even in the Black neighborhood, it's just like, well, where's the Ebony magazine? Well, y'all don't buy it because you're on World Star Hip Hop. So for those individuals who are, especially young people, that's not, wouldn't say that's just a young people thing. That's just how we are evolving now, and how we collect our news. And the fact that you can get so much news, and that sometimes is a bad thing too, because then you don't know there's so much coming at you at one time. You don't know what to trust anymore. And so you have to have you have to kind of pick and choose, which is not necessarily a bad thing, who you're going to believe and who you can be like, oh, that sounds a little fishy, but let me go over here. Let me Google some more and find another source. The beautiful thing where millennials have really taken it and kind of run with it, going back to that citizen journalism. Once again, you have that power. You are, and not to mention, you are empowered now. Everybody is a media outlet. You can be a mediapreneur, as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to start a blog, if you're going to be on YouTube, YouTube now is getting to the point where, hey, if you got good content and you want to monetize it, do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a beautiful thing. So the only gripe is, because there's so many people wooing millennials, the rest of us are like, well, you know what? We can tweet, we can post a video, we can shoot, we can do all of that. Just because we're not in our 20s anymore doesn't mean we don't have any value. And I think that,
Mm-hmm.
I think in many instances, that's what's creating some friction in some areas of social media, especially when it comes to employment.
Right, and
especially when it comes, why is it you always overlook us, or those of us who've been around a little, who are just as savvy, who have enough sense, as well as technical. So, we know about Snapchat, we know about this, we know about that, and we have enough sense to know, well, I probably shouldn't tweet that or put that out.
Y'all want too much money, because y'all want too much money.
Y'all want too much money.
I can get a millennial who was just out of school, who will do it for a certain amount. And so be honest, when you're 40 something years old, you're not going to accept a certain, you're at a point where you're like, okay, look, I have to live off of this, and this. And they're looking at that. I mean, and that is across industries for the same thing. And I'll just quickly say, even in terms of the academy, they're looking for people, and often they are millennials. They are looking for people that are fresh out of grad school that will take XYZ, because they know they're not going to argue, because I only want to pay XYZ to an assistant professor. I'm not advertising associate professorship because I don't want to pay XYZ, and I don't want them to have this rank. Somebody fresh out of grad school, which, by the way, they do a terrible job in a lot of doctoral programs of educating you as to what's the what. So you get out and you're like, oh, damn, thank God, I just have a job. I'll take whatever. Whereas somebody who is more seasoned, like, I need this, I need this, I need this. It's the same thing in social media. Same thing.
It's really, but one end, it's not even really us versus them. It's just, but in some instances, it may appear to be that way. And especially when you've got millennials who really do think, well, once you have to put TH, you have to put a th in your age. All of a sudden, you don't know anything. It's like, okay, all right, you just well, you're in your 20s now. You still can use youth as an excuse as to why you make your mistakes.
But I think go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
I was going to say but I think the problem is when it comes to colleges hiring millennials and hiring people that are, one of the biggest problems that I had, that's still going on in Cheney, is that one of our professors is 80 years old. And it's like, at one point, do you not get it? It's like, you need to hit retire. Actually, there's one class I was taking of his, he had stopped teaching for a while. I was like, what happened? He passed out in the middle of class and had a stroke. So you would think that would be your sign. So you're talking about having professors who just will not conform to what's going on in the world, to the way that media has changed, the way that social media is now part of marketing, that people just say, oh, well, that's what it's. There's some people who think, and I've heard people who said that they thought the internet was just a fad. They think social media is a fad. It's going to come and go away. And no, it's not. It's still going to be here. So they still have that mind. They're still teaching people how to do copywriting in the traditional sense. It's like, no, it has changed. You don't have to go through this person, that person, this person. And also, to add, Allison, to your point, I can do you one better when it comes to YouTube. YouTube, I have a friend who does YouTube, and he makes his living off of YouTube. He does nothing but make YouTube channels about. I don't watch him because he talks about stuff that I don't care about. He talks about reality TV shows I don't watch, music I never heard of. I don't, and I think we're about 2 years apart. But he gets paid to do this, and he was just in California 2 months ago. YouTube got all the black top YouTubers and put them all in a room, paid for everything. And he showed pictures of people that, oh, I know this guy, I know that guy, I know all Black YouTubers. Because unlike us, and I hate to go racial, us, people see the power of our money. They know how to get our money, except for us. When I first started doing marketing, I was trying to get to Black-owned businesses and trying to help them. They wouldn't listen. They didn't want to go anywhere. And there's so many businesses I have seen fail because they're like, well, I don't do social media, or I don't have the internet, and I'm just trying. It's like, okay, do your thing. Go ahead. I'll just sit here and watch you fail. And they said, well, we can't afford. I said, no, you can't. You cannot afford not to have me, because you need me. You need me. And they're like, oh, I'm doing okay. And they fail. And now you have the African American Chamber of Commerce, you got the Urban League, you've got the NAACP's telling people, look, if you want your business to survive, you better go on social media, and you better get your millennial and have them work, like Tashi said, have a millennial that'll work for you for not much money, because some of them don't have time or they just don't understand it. And that's one reason why I got out of doing social media marketing altogether, because I was trying to help them, but they would not listen. And businesses are not surviving. I mean, there's so many, like Dr. Vibe talked about, grassroots media. We both know Christopher Norris here in Philadelphia, a grassroots blogger in Philadelphia, and talks about issues that you would never ever see on national news. It's just so many opportunities for businesses that have been established, for them to make that connection, and they just don't want to take advantage of it. But the millennials, we got it, we understand it.
Are really.
So
I can speak to like in some of the banking institutions, like some of your Black banks, and some of your older insurance companies and things, and even some of your churches. They're just not, they're gonna. They're just going to throw holy water and plead the blood on Twitter or something or the other. So in many instances, there is.
You know what? Alice, you're a trip, because you just slide these little lines in, and if you're not paying attention, you miss them, but they're so good. Good.
Because on one end,
I'm sorry, I was looking at Tashi's face.
Now she's gone. She's left.
But because they see it as something, demonic, or whatever the phrasing is, depending on which religion or which church you go to. And a lot of them, they fear the change. The millennials seem to accept change a little bit, a lot more than we do.
Yes.
We're just kind of stuck in our ways. And the reality of it is, if you're working at Pizza Hut in China, you already replaced by a little machine called Pepper. So, and I didn't make that up. I started on CBS this morning. So on one end, though, here's the thing, though, we need both. There is no, we only need older people, we need younger people. No. We need everybody. We need the wisdom that the older people have earned by virtue of living and going through some stuff. And we need the younger people, the millennials, to be open to listening. That's one, be open to listening to that story that they have to share with you, because it might apply. It just might apply to what you're going to experience. Maybe not right now, but give it 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. You'd be like, you know what? They was right. Yeah, grandma was trying to tell you, but you was so busy trying to nay that you just didn't get it. So go ahead.
But here's, I want to interject here. I sat back for a while, but isn't one of the concerns, and maybe Jonathan can answer best, when it comes to social media and millennials, it's reducing their attention span?
Yes, but people naturally, I believe, have a short attention span anyway. But millennials, it does make it's much shorter, because the reason why Snapchat is so popular is because it's a short it's I only ask for about 40. Was it 2 days? Up to 2 days, you can post something up, and then it goes away. So absolutely,
24 hours.
24 hours. Yeah, I'm not on Snapchat yet, so I don't even.
It's
That's
still on their
actually
server,
for
so
younger
it didn't go
generation.
anywhere. That's an illusion.
Oh yeah,
Nothing ever goes anywhere.
That it has disappeared. It is still quite there. And if you get in trouble with the popo, they don't mind pulling up your ghost, your snap.
Mm-hmm. that picture of your penis, it's still there.
That looks like you. That looks like you, bro. That's all you. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's all you, bro. That's you right there. Yeah, that's you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So,
but the good thing about it is, like, sometimes, like, when you have, I forgot the name of the website, but there's a website that condenses everything that's in the news in short sentences, so you're able to get it quick, fast, in a hurry. So if there's something that you want to see, want to get into, you just click on the link and it brings up. So it's able to condense things. So for those who have a short attention span, for the millennials, it feeds to those audience of people, because we don't have enough time to watch a whole 4 hours of Good Morning America or whatever. So sometimes it can be a good thing, but sometimes it can be a bad thing. So
I don't even think it's social media.
No,
I don't think social media.
Go ahead, Dr.
Before social media, we were talking about texting was the attention getter. Before texting, then it was video games. People were in their little video games. So we're always going to find something to get our attention. At this point, the question is it really the fact that social media is taking your attention, or is it the fact that what you're feeding to me, I have no desire to hear? It doesn't interest me. You're not bringing it in such a way that makes it interesting to me. We can easily blame social media to say, well, you're so busy on this and that and the other. But if you're a traditionalist, did you think that maybe if you came at that a little different, if you taught that a little different, if you came at it with a little something that they could relate to, you might keep their attention longer than a nap? Maybe. So it's easy to blame social media, but technically, are you evolving with your student?
So
are you coming at them at a level that interests them?
Well, and I'm gonna add on to that, because we spend a lot of time talking about the educational field, but what about the home life? What are the families evolving with their millennial children? Are they as out of touch in a number of situations as the education system is when it comes to their students in social media?
Yes.
I would say yes too. And I would say yes too. Thinking about my family, I would say yes as well.
So because the reason why I'm saying that is we can't expect the educational institutions to take care of this issue of social media helping or hurting millennials. We can't put it solely on the educational system's backs, because the funding in educational systems is going down. It's getting less, which means there's less time for them to even just scratch the surface.
Go ahead, because I've talked a lot.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh no, that's fine. You're the star here today, so absolutely.
You bet.
Go Beyonce. So I think absolutely they are. I think that parents, not just parents, because we have to start to adopt more of this village mentality. We've become so individualistic, even in cultures that are traditionally collective or collectivistic. They've adopted a Western individualism type of mindset. And so if we start to look at everyone being our child or everyone being our responsibility, then, that's the way we have to start to look at it. So it's not just the immediate within the home. It's, the whole village mentality. But absolutely, parents are not as aware of social media and what social media really means and understand. I don't even think the people that use it for the most part are really as aware of the implications. People are just using it, and they don't realize that what you put out there is your digital footprint forever, and it can always be pulled back up. They don't realize that you can put too much information out there. Like, for the most part, there's an art to using it, and that's something that parents don't know. That's something that sometimes the school doesn't know. Most of the time, unless I know I'm coming right back, I don't put that I'm gone, because I don't want people milling around it. You know what I'm saying? So not putting out there that, you're gone all the time on social media, not putting geo-tracking on so people can see where you're going to be. Those are all things that need to be taught, especially to young people, especially to millennials, because they're so open with their information. But the point, the point is, there are some real dangers out there, and that's something that, while in the home you may not know, your neighbor may know that, and that's why I'm saying we need to start to adopt a village or readopt that village mentality.
And I don't have any kids, so I can't tell anybody how to raise. I can't even tell anybody how to grow a plant, much less raise a kid. But on a common sense kind of level of things, you should have, seemingly as a single person, you should have an interest in what your children have an interest in, so that at least, so should I have a child, I'm like, so what are you into? Because the generation we had, they would ask you, so, you want to learn the piano? Miss such and such, she teaches piano lessons. You want to learn how to dance? Miss such and such, whatever, has that. Oh, you want to learn football? Mr. such and such at the Y, he has a program. And so, like you were saying before, we don't have that collective. But when you allow, just like 20 years ago, we were blaming the television for everything. But the reality of it is, how did the TV get in the house? Kids don't have the kids. Who paying the electric bill? I mean, so it's not as if you don't have control over what your children can consume within your house. Now, when they leave your house, it might be a little different. But when they are in the confines of your home, you set the rules, you set the standard of the relationship and the communication. Sunday dinner without your phone. You can eat dinner, have a conversation with your family without your phone for an hour. That is the rule. You don't like this rule, you don't eat. And no, you can't go to nobody else's house and eat.
It's
exactly. And so, it's very simple.
Technology has made it so much. You're right. Because my goddaughter, we told her, you can't. After a while, she actually created a Facebook page, and she was too young to have one. We said no. She decided she wanted to do what she wanted to do, so we took away her phone. Now, she's not the only kid with a smartphone. So inside the house, we can correct her, but she can go to one of her friends and say, hey, can I use your phone? And go on to their phone and log in with their information and do what she want to do. So technology overall has made it, like you said, when I grew up, there was a time when I used to love talking on the phone. And there's a time I used to love talking, watching TV. I was a abnormal boy, so I didn't like going outside. I was just a fat kid, like staying inside doors all the time. So I had that growing up. Cell phones weren't popular until after I graduated from high school. Then they became popular. And then all I could do was just talk. There was no texting. It was a Nokia phone. That was it. You couldn't get any further than that. But nowadays with social media, it has made it so much, especially when it comes to bullying. Bullying is a big issue. Now that's for the Jenners. I think that's Generation Y. I think that's the one after Millennials. We got this issue with cyberbullying, and then you got they got access to something called Kick. I tried it. I didn't like it. It's basically private messaging some people.
And whisper.
It's stupid.
Kick and whisper.
Kick and whisper. Yep. Kick and whisper. And it's like it's getting out of control. But for millennials, when it comes to us, we know how to use social media to put ourselves to brand ourselves. Now, some people haven't got that message yet because they just put anything out there and think that, okay, well, this is my thing and I do what I want to do. But then you got to realize that stuff starts to follow you. If you're trying to, for those who are not millennials, if you're trying to get a job right now, there's nothing legally that says that you can't give them your social media. Some employers will ask you for your Facebook, for your Twitter, for your Instagram. They will ask you for that and they will check it. I once lost a job because I put something on Facebook, thought one of my quote unquote friends, co-workers was one of my friends. She reported me, and I lost a job because of something that was said was taken as a terroristic threat, although no one took it serious. But I mean, it was because they were like, he's not going to do that. I was mad. I was upset. But that's what we've gotten to, and social media is another. And for once again, we didn't get racial, but for us as Black people, we can't afford to do that. They can say, "Oh, well, Raheem said this. Shaquita said that. Oh, on Facebook, she said this on Twitter. Oh, we're sorry. That's not in our policy. That's not considered part of our ethics." And next thing you know, they out the door. And people don't get that. You just can't do that. So you got to go through a whole litany. I had to do this one time. I had to teach a whole bunch of students. Look, you can't put everything that you think on social media. You can't put every, excuse me, like you said about the geo sites, you can't put every place you go. They have this app called Path. It basically follows you everywhere you go. You don't want that. You don't want somebody knowing your daily habits. Don't you know when you leave? There was a couple that put on Facebook that they were going out vacation and whatever, and when they came back, all their stuff was gone. Why? Because they put on Facebook that they were at home. So that type of stuff does happen with these. And one thing I don't like is when people put their kids on social media. I hate it. Now, some kids, okay, cute, little, but recently, Chris Brown's daughter had a picture of his baby mama put a picture of his daughter in a ballerina outfit. And Wendy Williams said, "No, you don't put that on. There are too many predators out there for you to be putting that type of stuff on social media. That's a no-no. You don't do that." And these are millennial parents that think that, oh, well, it's just my friend seeing it. It's just my. No, that stuff gets shared and it goes around and people see that. And God knows it was a very important. Well, it wasn't NH for real. It wasn't a dress. It was a tutu. She was in dance class. So that's what it was, a tutu. It wasn't a dress. It was a tutu. But she took a picture of it thinking it was cute. And it was like, no. I mean, yeah, it was cute for you and for her, for like Wendy Williams said, for a picture that you put on the refrigerator with a magnet. That's cute. But to put it on social media, no, you can't do that. It's that I'm done. Go ahead.
Well, it's what the thing that I'm having the biggest concern with is young women right now. You know the case where in the women, the young girls beat up the girl in the bathroom, killed her, but they videotaped it.
It happened 30 minutes from where I live. Wow. Because it was a woman. I'm in Delaware. I mean, I'm in Philadelphia, so it was 30 minutes from where I live. It's a big issue. Yes.
So on one end, I don't,
because I'm from Delaware, so
I don't blame social media. Like I said, you can't blame the hammer for hitting the nail. Hammers don't pick themselves up. So, but what I do blame is one, because of the world star hip hops of the world, who seemingly glorify that kind of action. And then even we get into sometimes a habit of, when we see young people acting crazy in the grocery store with their parents or doing something else, the first thing we do when we see it on Facebook is what? We share it. And then we comment. And then the thing goes viral. And before you know it, we've created this whole kind of environment, this kind of like it begins to taste good in our own mouth. Because we begin to create a taste for it, an appetite for it. And on one end, that's a sadder statement of us as a not just as Black people, but in general, when you see young people who are looking at other people on social media, and you're looking at a media takeout, or you're looking at something like a world star hip hop, who love having those videos because people are there literally looking at them and consuming them like they're doing Doritos during the Super Bowl. And next thing you know, some young lady, some impressionable young lady decides, bullying once again. We don't like this girl because she She winked at my little boyfriend who didn't really like me anyway, but I ain't woman enough to admit it. I don't like her this, I don't like her that. So we just gonna bum rush her in the bathroom, and then we're gonna videotape it, and then we're gonna put it up on the internet for everybody to see. Like we did something great. That was one of your lowest moments in this world, but you're not younger. Either your parents have not told you, or your parents have told you, and you just don't get it. But you will get it now that you're in jail, and you're gonna be in there till you turn the age we are now. So you're gonna be in there a long time to think, and to be in there with women who don't have access to social
Alice,
media.
I'm not gonna put all on social media. I believe that when it comes to issues where, like, when girls get in fights, I don't see too much with guys, but when girls get in fights, I do blame social media for this whole don't intervene, just take up this video camera, because as soon as a fight happens, it happened here in Philly. In Philly, it was so bad. That a girl was filming these two girls fighting, and when she was panning out, you could see one of the parents that was there just talking about, get her. That's crazy. But I don't only blame social media, and not only do I also blame hip hop, I also blame, and this one thing that I think is really important, I blame reality TV. These housewives, this Love and Hip Hop, all this stuff, these kids. When I went back to college for my senior year, everyone was watching the Love and Hip Hop reunion. I was too. I ain't gonna lie. And reality TV made it so we glorified it so much that now we think that that's the reality. If you want to be, and go ahead, Tashi, because I know this is your thing.
So Jonathan, I'm going to get into. You see, I had to shift in my seat on that one. Am I okay to answer this, Dr. Vibe, or do you want to?
Go.
Okay, so with when we talk about reality television, number one, it's a cyclical problem. It's not just one end of it. You sat there and said you watched it. You're part of the problem as well, because you partook in that culture. Since you said
I'm delivered.
No. But you said that
you delivered.
Okay, that's true. But you were part of the problem at the time. Now that you've repented and you took your communion or whatever, you're good. But the thing is, at the point, you were part of the problem because you were part of that culture and you partook in that culture. The people who get up on those shows, the housewives, the Love and Hip Hops, all of those things, they're equally to blame because they are partaking in that culture of violence and that culture of hate. I also blame people like Mona Me Entertainment and Mona Scott Young, who know good and damn well that is trash, but will still continue to profit off of that. Her own people Black women, primarily, she will still continue to profit off of that. The only time she got shut down, don't you remember, Sora, when we all said, oh, hell no, you're not going to put sorority sisters on here and make us look stupid? The problem is we couldn't do the same thing for all these other shows. We did that for when it was us, but we didn't do it when it's all the other shows. Mm-hmm. So, that's another thing. But then we also have to look at this. So it's cyclical. It's the people who watch, it's the people who produce this, and it's the people who are on these shows. So everybody is at fault in this one. And I don't think we can point fingers anywhere, because if you watch, you're guilty. If you participate, you're guilty. But then I also look at it from this other end. We've created a culture where people feel the only way you are important is if you are seen in a national space, if you drive this car, if you have this house. And how does that happen? Well, I need to get on television so I can get enough money to be able to do these type of things that society says I need to do. So we've created this, and now we want to be mad? It doesn't work that way. We cannot have it both ways. So I think we need to do a lot of introspective soul searching on all ends to see how we can solve this issue.
It's almost like having another million woman march. It's just like, well, the reality of it is, are the strippers coming? Because technically, because I mean, on one, I mean, if we're honest, if we're really, really honest, the reality of it is, on one end, we want to be, like you were saying, on one end, we want to be the good girl. It's just like, well, you know, this is only my husband gets to see this. This is like, oh, all right. But then on the other end, you have a woman who says, I'm empowered. This is my body. And we'll say, well, if Beyonce can be empowered in her sexuality, then why are we throwing shade at the girl on the pole? So we want, like you said, we want to have it both ways, but we can't have our cake and eat it too. At one end, we can't be mad at the rappers who keep calling us bitches and hoes in the music, and we at the club dancing to it. We stop dancing to the music.
Exactly.
If we stop dancing to once the stripper gets off the pole, trust me, they'll stop playing that kind of music. Once we as women stop dancing and requesting it at the radio station, because I have worked in radio. Who's calling the radio stations asking for these songs?
We call.
We do. We
call.
do. Shake it. But watch yourself. Okay. The reality of it is great beat, but that's a lifestyle. That was not meant. That's one song. So if you're going to go to the club, you can't be a progressive black woman at the club because you're not going to dance to nothing. Just stay home and play your India Iris. But so we as individuals have to collectively kind of have that thought. But we are so divided in, like you said, our individuality. Now I have a right to do whatever I want to do with my body, and it's just like, well, you know what? You're right. You do. But I wish this one time, maybe one day out of the week, could you just come into the sisterhood fold, you know, lead a poll at the club and just come into the fold just one time. And then, you know, if you really still want to get on the poll, then technically we have no judgment. But technically we do have judgment.
So, I want to jump in here then. So is the thought amongst the panelists here and also the people in the chat, is social media, when it comes to millennials, making them more individualistic?
I think individualistic,
or
and
more
I think
collective?
really is because, earlier people talk about, well, the millennials do this, millennials do that. There was really no raising up of, there was really no passing down the guard. It was actually, I remember Bernice King said, one thing that we did is when we got our civil rights, we didn't keep on fighting. So once we got our civil rights, we thought that we were done, we were complete, but we didn't keep on fighting. At some point, we just said, okay, we got this far and that's it. So there was no teaching of the children. My mother didn't teach me half the stuff that I know now. My mother didn't even teach me to vote. I had to learn that on my own. So most millennials are individualistic because we were never taught how to work together. It's like now that, and because of that, we're kind of upset with my mother was baby boomer, so we're kind of upset with this generation before us, our baby boomers, because no one never taught us. So now we're out teaching ourselves. We have to teach ourselves how to network. We have to teach ourselves how to do our own business. We have to teach ourselves how to educate ourselves, because we have to teach ourselves about our own history. I mean, there's so much stuff in our history that we don't know that we got to teach ourselves because no one ever taught us. Now that may be because partly no one taught them how about their history. No one passes on, no one goes down and says, okay, this is who you are. This is what, just like people get mad, just like it does. You know what? This past week, Monday, I met a Holocaust survivor. She's 90 years old. She survived the Holocaust. She was in 8 different concentration camps, and her story was just unbelievable. But I thought to myself, I hate my people, black people, because you never hear jokes about the Holocaust. You never hear Jewish people make fun of themselves. But I don't know how many slave jokes I have heard. I don't know how many Kunta Kinte jokes I've heard. And people think that, oh, well, that's just in the past, just make fun of it. And I think it was Tom Burrell that said that we laugh to hide our own pain instead of talking about it. So millennials, because we don't understand our history, and I'm talking mainly about black and brown, so Hispanic and black people, because we don't understand our history, we work on our own selves now. Actually, it's really individualism, collective individualism. Skia is right. Now that we're individualized, now we're starting to work as a collective, but getting people, millennials, and here in Philly, one of the biggest problems that we have, and this is and I think Dr. Bob did a show about this earlier, is gentrification. And one of the things that you see with gentrification is that you see millennials particularly white millennials, they're getting together, they're forming organizations, they're living in houses together, or they live in communities. Communities. That's what I'm looking for. Communities together, and they're understanding that, okay, not everyone has children, but they're getting together and understanding the power that they have together. Where Black people are still stuck on this, I gotta have my Benz, I gotta live in this type of house, I gotta have this, I gotta be broke, I gotta keep up with the Joneses, I gotta be broke and keep up with the Joneses at the same time, which that doesn't work.
So, I'll make the 2 points about the individualism. So here's the thing. When that's all you have in society, when the only thing that you have that's important is what you can amass because you have no other power, that is what becomes important to you. And I'm not saying it's right, but when you are oppressed and you don't have anything else, of course, going and attaining to get a Louis Vuitton bag is your highest pinnacle, because that's what you know is success, and that's what media has shown you is success. So that's all you achieve, or that's what all you try to achieve. So I'm not saying you're not right, but I'm saying there's a reason behind all of this. There is reasoning. Do I excuse you for not trying because of that reason? Hell no, I don't. Because nobody else is going to get you out of this debacle but you, because nobody else cares. Somebody else may have put you there, but they don't care about getting you out, so you have to get yourself out of it. So now going to the individualism thing, I like when Askia says the collective individualism. Social media is a very solitary activity. So most of the time, you're not doing social media, quote unquote, in groups. See, you might be in a room, you might be on a platform like this. So it's collective, but it's really a solitary thing. It's about you. It's about your thoughts. It's about what you're putting out there. So it's a very solitary thing. And in that, you learn to be individualistic, that it's about what I think, what I want to say. So of course it has that level of individualism, but I really like Askia and what he said, and that collective individualism. So and you're bamboozled into thinking, well, I'm an individual and I'm thinking on my own, but your thoughts came from the agenda that was set by society, from media outlets, et cetera, et cetera.
Well,
so
I would say
that's spot on.
When it comes to, I will say this. I don't blame this media, because when my mother raised me, she equated with, if I take care of you, that means that I love you. That means if I give you this, I give you that, then that means I'm taking care of you. There was no nurturing. There was no nature. In other words, if I equate giving you things as my way of saying I love you. So therefore, when I grew up, or when millennials grow up, they equate that if I have this, I have that, then that means that I am somebody, because that's how I was raised, because I was raised that if I had things, then that will fill a void in my life. So it's not just society, even parents who didn't know how to parent their kids, they just said, look, if I give you this, then that means I love you. If I'm taking care of you, that means I love you. And people don't, and it's not just, I think that's just society as a whole. So I wouldn't just say just media, that's just depending on the culture and the environment as well. That's how I grew up. I didn't look at a lot of TV. I grew up in a very religious household, but my mother, like I said, she just said, look, if you got clothes on your back, you got shoes on your feet and all this stuff, then guess what? I'm doing my job right. But turns out she wasn't. I explained, I said, no, you wasn't, because the time that I really needed you and I needed to talk to you and understand where I was coming from, when I later in life, I later became suicidal, I had depression. You thought that, oh, well, I was taking care of you, you was doing good and all this stuff. I'm like, no, that's not when I needed you. I didn't need you when I needed this or needed that. I needed you to talk to you for you to understand me. And that's another issue that we talked about. Is there any type of dialogue between the the two generations? Also, is there any dialogue, just like when Black Lives Matter came out and they said that we reached out to the former civil rights leaders and they would not help us. They wouldn't talk to us. There is no dialogue between the two generations. So people think, well, millennials, y'all just think anywhere you want to. You just do what you want to do. No, there's no discussion. It's like, and then, like you said, like we do listen sometimes. I ain't gonna say all the time. We do listen sometimes, but sometimes when we're listening, it's not like less dialogue. It's like, no, I talk, you listen, and we don't work like that. We're not order takers. The generation before us, maybe. For us, no, we don't take orders. You either listen to us or we won't have no part of you whatsoever.
All right, let me get in a word here because it's been hot for the last little while. Just want to catch up and say hello to some people. S. Rashim. I hope I got it right tonight. My apologies if I didn't get it right. I am Curtis Brooks. Thanks. Dropping by. Sam_T. Thank you so much. Brian. Good to see you, Brian. Good to see you. Now, I'm just going to scroll back because a very good conversation topic was brought up by S. Rashim. And if I get your name wrong, please forgive me, and you'll teach how to get it right. What tips or suggestions does everyone have for improving the state of millennials today?
Well,
I said earlier,
is it okay?
It was a Facebook video. I just saw a Facebook video yesterday. It was a young white girl, matter of fact, talking to her own generation about why I understand why older people talk to us the way they do. And within the video, she talked about how all the things basically we've already mentioned here. And I'm not going to say, we need to fix millennials as if there's just something innately wrong with them. But I think overall, we all need to figure out how to better communicate because we're all impacted by social media, not just older people and younger people, but we're all impacted by how we communicate now. Older people communicate a certain way. It's like the 5 languages of love. It's just like, well, this is how I show you I love you. I may never say it, but I'll show you in what I give you. We're talking about materialism, but the reality of it is 3 generations of, before we came into the world, it was all about the Cadillac.
Yes.
I still a bit want somebody to do the research on what was the connection between Black people and Cadillacs. I haven't a clue. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, we have to figure out, because we need each other. We need the wisdom of the older, and we need the passion and the enthusiasm and everything that the young people have, because the old people are going to die out. But the reality of it, where we are right now, is, well, y'all didn't do this. And a lot of us are like, well, y'all don't even know who Prince is. How do you not know who Prince is? Well, you didn't teach us who Prince was. That's why we don't know who Prince is. Really? No, you didn't. No, we don't. I mean, we know he's a great musician, but I only know that because I saw that he died on Twitter. But if we don't take the time to figure out how to meet somewhere in the middle, and yes, it does require both parties listening. And I think where Black Lives Matter, and honestly, that's what bristles a lot of people about Black Lives Matter, because the perception is you're so passionate about where you're trying to get that you seem to forget you still need allies. The whole point of having the protest was so that you can get in the room. When you get in the room, then you can start negotiating. But if you keep pissing people off in the street and at the door and at the rallies, you don't get invited to where the real decisions are made. You'll just continue being a 40-second vote site on somebody's local news. Oh, I'm sorry. That's media speak. A voiceover sound on tape. You'll continue to be a clip on the news, but you'll never make it into the door. You'll never make it at the table where the negotiations are really made. You got to realize, that passion is great. That enthusiasm is great. The organization is great. But at the end of the day, you need to have a strategy and realize not everybody is your enemy just because they don't agree with you. So, and I think that's where we're having this kind of friction between the two. And the sadder part is the longer we keep pointing the finger at them and they're pointing the finger at us, the bigger picture is like, okay, everybody's losing. The older people are losing. The millennials are losing. We got an issue right now in this great state of North Carolina. And I say great and, with a little bit of sarcasm on it, because we got 3 HBCUs that may very well close if we're not wise, if we don't discern what's really going on. And we got the transgender issue going on with the House bill. So there is a protest here almost every week about something. Every week, the older people are protesting, the younger people are protesting, the college students are protesting. The older people are mad because now they got to get voter ID just to vote. And we're not realizing at some point, we can't just continue being mad at each other. We've got to figure out how can we communicate. Everybody has to be a listener at one point in the conversation. And then somebody else can do the talking. Like what I'm about to do right now is stop talking so I can be a listener.
Can I take it next? Do you mind if I take it next? So, I tend to look at things in a particular way because of where I come from. And that's all we can do as people. Standpoint theory. You look at things I'm taking it communication professorial now, but you look at things in a particular way because of where you come from, because of your background, etc. So that's standpoint theory. So I look at things through the eyes of a Nigerian American. I'm American, but I'm also Nigerian. And my mother did not say a lot of things. And God help me if I didn't get it. Why? Because Nigerian culture is high context. And in a high context culture, you learn by watching and listening and observing. And by nature of you listening and observing, you get it. Low context cultures, everything has to be explained. That's why in America, we love contracts so much. So just like you're saying, Alice, part of the problem is we're always so busy talking and not listening and watching and observing. And this goes for everybody. But when I was like a millennial's age, my mother didn't tell me anything. I watched and listened and observed. Mm-hmm. Now, again, I know I'm coming from a particular place because of being Nigerian, but I think there is a little bit of Nigerian in all of us. And that if you just take the time and observe, you get so much more by listening and observing than you do by trying to talk all the time. And this is what I find. And I know this firsthand because I teach millennials. This is the generation I teach. And I have to tell them, well, if you would just sit down and listen, I already said this. If you would just listen, you would already have the answer that you need. So you don't have to know everything. I think sometimes millennials feel like they need to have all the answers as well. And you don't have to know everything. But to get the answers, sometimes you have to first of all, stop blaming people. Yeah, we may not have taught you, but if you had looked when I was doing it the first time, you would have seen how to do it. So you have to take some responsibility as well. I don't like blaming millennials because it's not all their fault, but I'll be damned if I don't assign you some blame. Stop talking sometimes and watch and listen.
I'm now confused because you said if you was watch what I was doing, who they're supposed to watch? Because I live in the inner city.
Those of us that have been doing this forever. So you want to get into?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, what's the but? No, it's okay. No, but what's the but? So you want to become a newscaster. Mm-hmm. You want to become a newscaster. You're not going to learn by osmosis. You go and you get that internship. You say, hey, can I shadow you? You watch what that seasoned newscaster is doing. You take notes. You ask questions if you have a question. But you watch and listen and learn instead of trying to be the know-it-all in every situation. And I'm not saying that millennials are. Mm-hmm. But too often, there's this thing of I need to have the information processed and given to me. Well, you didn't give me the directions. Why should I give you the directions when I'm doing it right now? And if you sit down for a minute and watch, you're going to learn. You can only get good by listening and learning.
But you're implying that they have somebody can learn from. Mm-hmm. What do I do if I'm
absolutely they do?
And I don't have
Absolutely, they do. And see, you only don't have somebody you learn from if you employ an individualistic mindset. Every community has people that you just have to put yourself out there. Now, here's the thing. I understand not every single millennial is going to go out there and not everybody is I understand that. But at the very least, again, just like I said with other people, so you may not have put yourself in that predicament, but nobody is going to take you out of it. When you are tired enough of your condition, you will change your condition. If you're tired enough of being where you are, you're going to change it when you're ready. And I can push you I've done this all the time. Whenever I'm mentoring students or whatever, I push you towards something. You don't want to do it. You're not ready. All right, fine. When you're ready to come to the mountaintop with me, I'll be there at the top waiting. Until then, you do whatever it is you're going to do. Because one thing I'm not going to do is coddle you into non-existence. I won't.
Askia said it better. I agree with him. I'm of the Tasha. I love you. I disagree with you. I agree with Askia. They learn from Google, Siri, and Wikipedia. He's right. That's how most of us learn. Because as a black man, I'm older, but as a black man who's going into entrepreneurship, I can't. If I go and reach out to a black entrepreneur, they don't want to help you. Maybe because I'm in Philadelphia.
You don't know that.
I know that because we've been
you
out there.
Know
I've been
That's
out
not
there.
True.
I've been out there.
Have you talked to every? But have you talked to every? See, you're making blanket.
I'm not making blanket.
You have
I'm
not
talked
to.
I'm just saying.
Single one.
I'm just saying. Well, excuse me.
You have not talked to every.
Let me be more specific. Not black entrepreneurs. I'm talking about black entrepreneurs in a certain industry. Like when I want to go into marketing. And I reached out to, and I went into the networks, and I know black people who do entrepreneurship, where they do hair. I'm sorry, but black people who do hair. I know black people who do some other stuff is not what I want to do. I know black people who are in media. I don't work in media, but my thing is, well, I want to learn from marketing, but I could not. When I tried to reach out to those people,
that's the issue. No, I feel you, but that's the issue. Because you're so narrowly focused that you think you don't have anything to learn from somebody else who everything is connected. And this is what I try to teach students. Just because this is not exactly what you want to do does not mean you can't take a lesson from there and learn something and have it be relevant to what you want to do. And guess what? When that right opportunity comes along, it will. See, this is my thing. Everything is not going to be packaged pretty the way, and here, millennial, this is for you. It's not going to work that way. Sometimes you have to piece things together. And I understand, believe me, I understand that nobody may have been there to teach you or whatever. But again, it's like, all right, well, I need to get up. Nobody's there to teach me. What can I do to piece these things together? And believe me, people have been saying this. I say this. So not everybody from like Gen X, et cetera, is not trying to be bothered with millennials. Absolutely, that's not the case. Otherwise, we wouldn't be. I'm in a whole sorority where that's exactly what we do. We do this all the time. So you can't tell me that a group of 250, right, Sarah? A group of 250 women are not doing this. I know firsthand that this happens. So it does happen, but it's not going to come in a pretty package. Sometimes you might have to piece things together, and sometimes you might need to ask.
Tashi, you're on fire. And I'm just going to add to that, Jonathan. If you want it bad enough, you'll find the answer.
I'm just speaking for entrepreneurs.
Really and truly. Just look, the more no's you get, the closer you get to yes. And another thing on top of that, don't just limit yourself to people who look like you.
I don't. Well, depends. But see, I
mean,
No. I don't get involved. I don't give you the depends. The thing is, knowledge is color and gender blind.
True that.
This show was not built solely by people who are the same color as myself. If you want help, don't make it gender.
See, what I'm doing is I'm telling you, because
specific.
Not only because I'm a millennial, because I hang with other millennials, I'm telling you the experiences that we also experience. Now I know how to go out and network and meet people and all that stuff. I'm just saying that as for millennials, the problem that we have once again is the communication. And Tasha was saying, well, you got to learn from us, but there's nobody out there who's saying, hey, I will come out and I will extend my hand and I will help you. No, it's usually
that's not true. Well, maybe that is not true.
I don't.
Nothing you just said.
See, this is what
let me get you my shovel so you can keep digging yourself into a hole.
And I'm the subject you're talking about, and I hang with people that are like me, and I'm telling you the stuff that we see every day. And so, see, this is the issue I'm talking about. Like, if you
hold on a second. I'm gonna give you a perfect example. I think that it's a combination of not being hungry enough and afraid to ask. There are people that are in this blab right now that I've asked help from. Forget the age issue. You ask. You ask. And what's hard? What's wrong with having to work
there's
for
nothing wrong.
something?
No, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Because the thing, as I said, I don't get involved too much in conversations. But when I hear that there's no one out there willing to help, I can't. I had to get involved in that. It's that maybe you don't want to ask, or you're prejudging something out there without asking. And if someone says no, you go to the next.
Let me
the
say
more
this.
no's you get, the closer you get to your yes.
People are willing to help, but the help is usually conditional. In other words, what can I get out you helping me? There's some people who do that. There's some people who say that.
There's a gentleman right there.
Okay,
Jonathan. I'm gonna give you a